Hi, my name is Jim Seco. I'm an electrical engineer and I'm concerned about climate change. And I've come up with some solutions. And I'd rather talk about solutions than focus on the problem, but I want to take a minute to talk about the size of the problem. The burning of fossil fuels results in 35 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions per year. That's more than all volcanoes on Earth combined. In a year of unusually high volcanic activity, the emissions from fossil fuels is 80 times more than all volcanoes on Earth combined. On average, fossil fuel emissions are 130 times more than all volcanoes on Earth combined. And I say this because small changes are not going to be enough to fix this problem. Turning down your thermostat, turning off lights, those are good things. But it's not going to be enough to fix this problem. We need a drastic reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. That's the bad news. The good news is there is technology available today that can result in an enormous reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. Now, this is a breakdown of household greenhouse gas emissions. And I'm going to be talking only about household greenhouse gas emissions because that's what you and I, as individuals, have the power to change. And the three biggest contributors, vehicles, home heating and cooling, and heating water, these three combined account for more than 80% of household greenhouse gas emissions. And at 50%, which is the worst, we're going to focus on vehicles first. A new car in 2012 cost about $30,000 and gets 23 miles per gallon. But we can do better than that. There are dozens of hybrid models available today that can reduce greenhouse gas emissions. This particular model is a Toyota Prius C. It's rated at 50 miles per gallon by the EPA, just like the Toyota Prius hatchback that's been around for a few years, but it's more affordable at $19,000. And there are ways to do better than that. This gasoline-powered vehicle gets 85 miles per gallon. And there are ways that we can do even better than that. Now, I'm going to talk about electric cars, and I'm going to show you some numbers that sound almost too good to be true, so I want to show you where those numbers came from. First of all, an electric motor is about 90% efficient, while a gasoline engine is merely or only 30% efficient. Now, the EPA came up with something called miles per gallon equivalent. And miles per gallon equivalent is a way to compare the efficiency of electric vehicles to gasoline-powered cars. Miles per gallon equivalent is based on the fact that a gallon of gasoline contains the same amount of energy as 33.7 kilowatt hours of electrical energy. Now, this is a window sticker for Ford Focus electric vehicle. It's EPA rated at 105 miles per gallon equivalent. And over 5 years' time, the EPA says it'll save you about $10,000 compared to the average gasoline-powered car. Now, here's a picture of that car. It has a range of 76 miles. One of the disadvantages of these new electric cars, they're a little expensive. This one actually is sticker priced at $40,000, but I've put up $33,000 because I've subtracted the $7,500 tax incentive from the federal government. So these other cars that I'll be talking about also have that $7,500 subtracted. There are lease deals available that include the federal tax break. Leasing is a good option for people who do not qualify for the full federal tax break. This is the Mitsubishi i. It is currently the most affordable electric vehicle. It is rated by the EPA at 112 miles per gallon equivalent. Has a range of 62 miles and starts at about $22,000 or can be leased for about $250 per month. This is the Nissan Leaf. It is currently the best-selling pure electric vehicle. It's EPA rated at 99 miles per gallon equivalent, has a range of 73 miles, and it starts at about $28,000, can be leased for like $220 a month. Now, the Chevrolet Volt is not a pure electric vehicle. It has a range of about 38 miles on electricity, and when you go beyond that range, a gasoline engine kicks in, takes over. When the Chevy Volt is operating in electric mode, it's rated at 98 miles per gallon equivalent. In gasoline mode, it's rated at 37 miles per gallon. Now, General Motors has gathered a lot of data from all the vehicles, all the Volts that are on the road today, and they've determined that 70% of the miles driven by the average driver is driven in electric mode. So in a few minutes I'm going to be talking about showing you some cost of operation and the emissions. And for this particular vehicle, I've assumed that 70% of the miles are driven in electric mode. Now, Chevy Volt starts at $32,000 and can be leased for about $300 a month. The cost of electricity in our area is about 8 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, that's equivalent to gasoline at $2.70 per gallon. When the EPA estimates how much it costs to operate a vehicle, they assume that each vehicle travels 15,000 miles per year. And I've used 15,000 miles to show the cost of these various vehicles, the cost of fuel. You see, the average vehicle costs almost $2,500 in gasoline. The Toyota Prius, about half of that, and the Chevy Volt is even less than that. The Nissan Leaf costs less to operate than an 85 mile per gallon scooter. Now, these numbers here show what a gasoline-powered car would have to get in miles per gallon to equal the fuel cost of these electric vehicles. You see the Chevy Volt at 77 and the Nissan Leaf at 138. Now, electric vehicles are only as clean as the source of their electricity. And unfortunately, in our area, 85% of our electricity comes from the burning of coal. So the electric vehicles are cleaner than the average vehicle, but they still have higher greenhouse gas emissions than the Toyota Prius. And this is in grams of carbon dioxide per mile. And there's a way to make these cars even cleaner. We have the option of purchasing renewable energy from Ameren. And Ameren calls their renewable energy program Pure Power. Now, the average homeowner will pay an extra $15 per month for this green energy. Most of this energy is wind energy, and 100% of that wind energy comes from Missouri wind farms. And the greenhouse gas emissions from wind and solar energy are 1/20th to 1/100th of the emissions from coal. And I've taken the 1/20th and I've calculated what the emissions would be if these electric vehicles were powered with clean energy. Now you see the Chevy Volt is cleaner than the 85 mile per gallon scooter, and the Nissan Leaf has a very small carbon footprint. And I talked about the cost of clean energy being more expensive. These orange bars here show what these cars would cost running on clean energy compared to running on coal energy. It's a little bit extra, but the Chevy Volt still costs less to operate than a Toyota Prius, and the Nissan Leaf still costs less to operate than the 85 mile per gallon scooter. Whether or not you purchase clean energy, an electric vehicle will save you between $1,000 and $2,000 per year compared to the average gasoline-powered car. In 2 to 3 years' time, you'll have enough savings to purchase enough solar panels to power that electric car. And that's regardless of how many miles you drive, because the less miles you drive, the less solar panels it takes to power that car. Over the lifespan of the solar panels, you'll save $72,000 compared to the average gasoline-powered car. You can learn more about electric cars and hybrids at websites like plugincars.com and greencarreports.com. Now, natural gas has been called part of the solution to climate change because natural gas results in half as much carbon dioxide emissions as the burning of coal. The problem with natural gas is something called methane leakage. Methane is the main component of natural gas, and methane has 25 times more warming effect as carbon dioxide. Natural gas has the same warming effect as coal if the leakage rate is between 2 and 3%. Some experts believe the leakage rate could be as high as 4%, but nobody knows for sure because the natural gas industry is suing the EPA to keep leakage data from being made public. And I bring up, if natural gas leakage rate were 0, it would still result in 10 to 50 times more greenhouse gas emissions than wind and solar energy. And I bring up natural gas at this point because the next two items on our list, heating your house and heating water, traditionally natural gas has been the most economical way to do that. So I'm going to talk about home heating and cooling, and the smartest way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions is just to reduce the amount of energy that you use. This is what's called a passive house. The passive house is a super insulated and super airtight house. It uses 90% less energy to heat and cool than a brand new house built to today's building codes. Now, a house that is too airtight can result in something called indoor air pollution. And the passive house gets around the problem of indoor air pollution by using a ventilation system that includes a heat exchanger. And this heat exchanger, it draws in the stale air from the house and it transfers its heat to the fresh incoming air, so you have plenty of ventilation without any heat loss. The passive house wouldn't even be possible without this heat exchanger. Another key component of passive houses are triple-paned windows. And these triple-paned windows are filled with krypton gas because krypton gas has a higher insulating value than just plain air. There's also low E coatings on these windows, and the low E coatings reflect infrared energy. The combination of all these things results in a window that has a higher insulation value than the solid exterior wall of a conventional house. Now, these super insulated passive houses, it's not a new idea. This is from a May 1981 issue of Popular Science magazine. But these types of houses have not really caught on here in the United States. The story is a little bit different in Europe, where tens of thousands of these houses have been built. It'll cost, for the average size house, an additional $10,000 to build a passive house. The 30-year savings will be about $60,000. So it has about a 5-year payback period. And you can learn more about passive houses at passivehouse.us. At the very minimum, we should all have a home energy audit. If you plan on installing solar panels on your house someday, the installers will insist that you have a home energy audit first, before they will even do an estimate. And you can get a home energy audit professionally done for $49 from Dr. Energy Saver. You can find out more about that at stlouisdrenergysaver.com. Now, if you don't have a super insulated house, the most efficient way to heat it is with a heat pump. Now, a heat pump is essentially an air conditioner that has a special valve that can swap the hot and cold coils in the winter. The heat pump draws air from outside and transfers it inside the house. That's why it's called a heat pump. And because of this, a heat pump can actually put more heat energy into your house than the electrical energy that it consumes. It can have an efficiency higher than 100%. Now, the most efficient heat pump I know of is this Carrier Infinity series. It is 380% efficient. And this is what it costs to heat the average house annually for the different ways of heating your house. With conventional electric, a high efficiency gas furnace, and the Carrier heat pump. So it costs less to heat your home with the heat pump. These are the greenhouse gas emissions of these different ways of heating your house. This is a gas furnace, including the methane leakage. This is the heat pump running on dirty coal energy. This is the heat pump running on wind and solar energy. It has a very small amount of greenhouse gas emissions. Now, heat pump is also an air conditioner, and a good time to consider a heat pump is when an old air conditioner needs to be replaced. And a high efficiency heat pump is also a high efficiency air conditioner. So you can cut your air conditioning bill in half compared to a 10 to 15-year-old air conditioner.